You know, we are born into this world that is very much mind-oriented. We're very much about our mental prowess, our thinking skills. We rationalize and reason out things. We look for connections, and all of that stuff happens within our thinking brain, within this, amazing organ that's between our ears here. But there's another nervous system within our body that is actually formed long before the brain is. It's actually a cluster of nerve cells that are sometimes called the intrinsic pacemaker of the heart. Sometimes they refer to it as the SA node. It is a cluster of nerve cells that forms about 2 weeks before the nerve cells in the brain begin to form after conception happens. And so about 2.5 weeks along, our heart begins to form. And the first part of it that forms are these nerve cells. And so our heart actually has its own nervous system built right into it long before the brain is even beginning to develop. After all, we have to have the blood supply from the heart that's pumping to provide the blood for the brain for it to fully develop and mature. And so I think so often in our world, we spend all of our time in this thinking brain and not enough time going into our heart. But I tell you, when we begin to live from our heart, our life shows up differently. It shows up differently as we discover a way to listen to our hearts, to tap into that inner wisdom, to allow that wisdom of our heart rather than our mind be the guiding force in our lives. That's when our lives really begin to change. We can rationalize things and mentally figure things out all we want, but somewhere along the line, we have to tap into our inner knowing, our knowing that knows what it knows, and it can never unknow that. And that inner guidance, that inner wisdom is available when we listen to our heart. Words that describe a heart-focused life are words like allowing, spaciousness, curiosity, playfulness, spontaneity, trust, love. These are words that are meaningful when we are living from a heart-centered space, when we are learning to live from our heart. You know, the word courage itself means of the heart. And finding the courage within ourselves to look at all of our hidden beliefs and allow ourselves to discover the power that is coming forth from within our own heart. And then to actually begin to recognize that we are whole all along. And that love that we've been seeking for so long is actually a love that is already intrinsically within us. You know, until we learn to do this, no love from the outside world is ever going to satisfy us. Because the only way to really relieve the longing that we feel is to know who we truly are. And then we can only know who we truly are when we live from the heart. Our mind will actually work itself into circles around this idea of who we are and what we should do and how we should love and who's the right one for us. Where if we listen to our heart, we begin to get a deeper, more innate, more intuitive sense of what is calling itself forth through us. When we live from our heart, we are actually beginning to understand that we are sourced from an energy that animates everything. We are born from an energy that created all of life. And every atom of our being, every atom, every molecule, every tiny particle of our being is filled up with this light, this amazing love intelligence that has brought forth everything into existence. When we step out of the struggles that are caused by the hidden beliefs that our mind has created, and then we are able to rest in this field of love, then we begin to really experience the magnificence of who we truly are and what we came here to do and how we came here to live and be. And this is when amazing things begin to happen in our lives. We begin to realize that our greatest joy in life is to be this love. Not to receive this love, but to be this love. To be the place through which this love is pouring itself forth into the world. And realizing that our true destiny is to be this love, then another wondrous shift begins to happen. We step into this greater circle of giving and receiving love. Once we recognize that that love is already within us, that is longing to pour itself forth through us, then we begin to give it out all over the place and we begin to receive it in turn. That giving and receiving is the very nature of the love. And the more you love, the more it comes back to you. And because you're aware of it, the more quickly you recognize it and recognize it for what it is. That this is that true, divine, sacred love that is longing to express itself through us. So this process of living from the heart begins with the act of surrender. But this is not surrender that's caused by being defeated. This is the surrender that is the product of great courage. It takes great courage to be with the things that challenge us. It takes great courage to be willing to sit in the situations and to open up and ask the questions that are wanting to be asked. It takes great courage to be open and receptive and compassionate with ourselves as we go through this process. This act of surrender is not often an easy thing. This act of surrender takes a great deal of courage and fortitude and willingness to allow us to have a different experience in our lives. Once we have that calling for something different, then we become open and receptive to it. You know, the saints and the sages and all the mystics throughout times have also called this surrender humility. And true humility is a state of being available. It's being available for spirit. And it is in this humbleness that we cry out, use me. Oh God, use me. I am here. I am open. I am receptive. I am a willing vessel. Flow through me. Some of our best songs in our Centers for Spiritual Living movement are words about this idea. We have the song, Use Me, which is a favorite of ours to sing here. Flow through me. Spirit, flow through me. As I open up to be that expression of your unending love. Justin Vogel, our music director's song. These ideas are powerful and palpable, and they are life-changing. When we have the willingness to surrender and to live from a place of humility, the divine within us responds to the call upon our heart. And this is the call of the sacred revealing itself to us through our willingness and our ability to surrender and release and sit in the question with compassion for ourselves, with curiosity. And our reward is usually a feeling of awe and wonder. When we turn to the challenges of our life over to spirit, when we turn all of these issues that we face throughout our life over to spirit, the wisdom of the heart can guide us and support us. When we try to figure it out with our human brains, if we try to keep it rationalized and logical and contained and neat, and we don't want to deal with the messy part of things, when we try to keep all of that controlled, we are shutting ourselves off from the wisdom that's inherent within our heart. And we are shutting ourselves off from the flow of the divine through us. For I truly believe that's where it comes through. It doesn't come through my rational thinking brain. I may get insights. I may be getting hits and so forth. But it's when I go deep within, when I tap into that heart center within my being, that's where the true magic happens. That's where the spontaneous inspiration comes forth. That's the moments when we feel the 2x4 that's hitting us up beside the head, saying, wake up, wake up. It's time for you to be. It's time for you to sit in this realization of who and whose you are. This is time for us to live from that heart space and to allow that heart space to be open and available and receptive to the influx of spirit, because it's always looking for that place to fill a void. It's always looking for that channel through which it can show up in this world. It is the only way that spirit operates in this world, is through each one of us individually. And it does a much finer job operating through our hearts than it does through our minds. In her book, Mary O'Malley has a section that she calls the 4 lets. And this is a spiritual practice of going a little bit deeper in each one of these ideas of surrender and openness and willingness and sitting in the awe and the wonder of the situation. And so I thought tonight we could use this as a spiritual practice to explore a little bit deeper. So let me just talk a little bit about the 4 lets. The first let is let life. And this is the art of turning our challenges over to life and allowing that innate intelligence to support us in every step of the way. It's the art of acknowledging that we're caught up in this situation and we're feeling powerless in the face of all of these internal reactions we have and mental machinations that we're trying to work through. It's that art of letting that go and having the willingness to ask the divine intelligence for clarity. Because this infinite intelligence is always with us, and we can access it simply by asking for help. And the questions that we need to ask need to be open-ended, because when they're open-ended, they allow space for all kinds of answers to come through. So remember, we talked about before that the quality of our questions matters, but the quality of the questions that we're asking. So asking these open-ended questions, things like, what is here for me to know? What would be the next step in this process? What is the nature of this? These are open-ended questions, and when we ask the question and then sit, there's a space where we're signaling life that we are open and receptive for the influx of the answer to come through to us. So that's the first step. The second step is let it be. And this is when we stop fighting, we stop resisting our experiences, and we open up inside, and we create a spaciousness within us where we can actually explore what's really going on. And so when we turn towards what we're exploring, what we're experiencing with curiosity, and we put some space around it, we give it the space to work, then within this spaciousness, that's where the healing can happen. That's where the release can happen. That's where we can let go of these things that have limited us for so long. Allowing is the key word here. You can't really look and listen to something if you're resisting it. And so we have to allow it to be. This is where that phrase, it is what it is, comes in. We just allow it to be what it is. And so when we allow here, we begin to get an understanding of all of the things that are embedded within this situation, all of our reactions to it, all of the hidden beliefs that are waiting for us to examine them, to let them have a space to be. And in that willingness to let them be, they feel seen, they feel acknowledged, and they can be released. But as long as we're resisting and fighting it, then it's going to be persisting in our experience. After all, what we resist persists. The third stage of this is let it go. And so with enough curiosity and compassion, we can begin to let all of our old beliefs pass through us without getting caught up on anything and not resorting to our old patterns of behavior when these feelings come up. All of us have developed different patterns of behavior to cope with different things in our lives. This is stuff where sometimes addiction or compulsive behavior comes in. Those are the extreme cases of it. Sometimes it's just avoidance. I know I used to say that I didn't have any fears. And one of the things that I didn't like to do was to talk on the phone, but it wasn't because it was a fear. It was just because I had phone issues. And so I would just say, I have phone issues. I don't talk on the phone. Well, it was because I didn't know what was going to be happening on the other end. And there was an embedded fear. And as I worked through that, I began to release that, but I had to acknowledge it first. I had to say, oh, this is actually something I'm afraid of. And until I could do that, I couldn't move past it. So when we have these old beliefs that are tapping at our consciousness, we don't need to get trapped in them. We don't need to follow them out to the completion down the same old path of behavior. All we need to do is acknowledge it, give them a space to be, and then send them on their way. There comes a point in our lives where we long to stay open, where there's nothing that's worth closing our heart or tightening it or keeping all of this stuff inside of us. Each one of us reaches that point within our life when this is just more than we can do anymore. And our willingness to not get caught up in the drama that comes from all of that becomes stronger the more we develop our capacity for compassionate curiosity. What is the nature of this? What is this about for me? Gentle with ourselves, yet staying open and curious. When we let our life be allowing instead of resisting, we make way for life to move through us, and we begin to enter into our natural state, which is a state of joy. The final stage in this is let go. So 3 was let it go, 4 is let go. And this is where we just simply relax and open to the moment, opening up to life, opening up to what is happening through us. We allow it to flow through us. We don't have to spend time in even sitting so much with curiosity or anything else. We just open it and allow it to move through. This is the joy of relaxing into life. And this is when life naturally unfolds itself through us, rather than using our minds to try to work it out and make it happen or resist the things that aren't happening. This is when life is just moving through us. This is when we're in that 4th stage of consciousness that we call the as-me stage, where life is showing up as me. We've been trying to control the uncontrollable. So much of our life is spent doing that. And in doing so, we keep ourselves tied up in knots. But when we finally stop trying to control life with our mental brains, and we begin to let life live through us, living through our heart, we discovered that that's where true joy is. And so let's go through this practice here. I'll take us through a brief contemplation, and we're just going to go through these 4 stages. I probably will not list the stages as we're going through there, but just simply begin to follow those stages and give you guidance as we go. So I invite you to just take a moment here and do what it is you do to get yourself connected. Connected to your body, connected to that indwelling presence. Many people like to simply breathe deeply and close their eyes. This can become a tangible signal to the universe that you're open and receptive. Just do what that is that you do. You might want to check in with your body. Again, just like in the letting it be stage, we just notice what's around us. Notice any sensations or feelings. Notice anything that's happening right now in our bodies. And if your mind is inserting itself with that laundry list of things to do, or judgments, or anything else that's showing up as resistance, just acknowledge it. And just tell it you'll get to it when you're done with this. I want you to bring to mind some recent time when you felt anxious or irritated, disturbed about something was happening. It could be something very small, very minor. It doesn't have to be anything big. Just kind of bring that to your mind and get yourself so that you are back in the situation, back feeling some of those feelings. Maybe some of your old hidden beliefs have been triggered. I often find it's things I thought I was over. Come tapping at my consciousness. So in the first part, we're going to begin to ask some of those open-ended questions. What is the need here that is asking to be met? What is the need in this situation that is asking to be met? And after we ask the question, we just simply listen from our heart. What is the way through this situation for me? What is a way I can move through this? And what is here for me to see that I have not been able to see before? And so now from that heart center within your being, that place where you feel connected to spirit, that place from which life is breathing you. For me, this is right below my sternum and above my diaphragm. But it could be somewhere else on your body. But this is what I call my heart center. And from this place, I'm going to breathe. And as I breathe, open up in a more expansive way. And just allow these feelings, this situation, and any answers that came through to just rest in this spaciousness. And as I breathe, I just visualize the space opening greater and greater. It begins to feel like a space without boundaries. And so as the space continues to expand within you, just allow any of these things to move on through. You can move them out on your breath, or you can just allow them to escape from your being as this heart center within you becomes more spacious and the walls begin to disintegrate. Just simply allow all of these old thoughts and behavior patterns. Simply move on out. And as they move out, know that the divine rushes in to fill a void. And it fills it with joy and peace. With a beautiful sense of playfulness and a vital energy that is flowing through every cell of your being. That loving creative intelligence is pouring forth its love into you, filling every nook and cranny of your being with this heart-centered, beautiful expression of love. And just rest for a moment, allowing in the spaciousness for this joy and peace and love to simply bounce around inside of you. Filling up every aspect of your being, every aspect of your life. So let's just take in a nice deep breath. Know that whenever we want to, we can return to that heart center and rekindle those feelings that we've just experienced here. That incredible unconditional love. That perfect peace. And that playful joy. Their songs are alive and singing through you now. Just breathe into that. And when you're ready, go ahead and open your eyes. So let's apply one more of our spiritual practices to this idea of living from the heart. This is our spiritual mind treatment, our form of affirmative prayer. It is a prayer of deep connection, prayer of recognition, a prayer that knows the truth of everything that's been spoken here tonight. So I just invite you to turn within. You can lift your eyes high or softly close them. Whatever works for you to let you get to that space of deep connection. And so, turning within, I sense and feel that presence of the One, that creative, loving intelligence that has brought forth everything into existence. Everything that has ever been, everything that is yet to be, is all that perfect manifestation of the One. Because this One created all. I know that it is embedded within all life. That all life is imbued with the very essence and energy of that loving Creator. So I know this is the truth of me. And I know that infinite intelligence resides right at the very heart of my being. And that it is living its life through me in all that I am and all that I do. Because I know this is true for me, I know this is true for each and every individual out there. Every bit of creation is a living emanation of the One, endowed with that perfect peace, that unconditional love, that playful joy that is expressing itself continuously. And so, I speak my word, knowing this truth and feeling this divine presence. I know that there is an intelligence within my being that is always open and receptive, waiting for me to be willing to tap into it, waiting for me to give it the space to operate in my life. I know this very same divine intelligence exists within everyone and all things. I know that it is continuously and constantly available, open and receptive to our recognition of it and our willingness to abide in it, our willingness to be open, to surrender our ego minds, and to humble ourselves before it. For these acts signal our receptivity and our willingness to be open and curious and awed by it in every moment. This is our divine opportunity. Spirit makes itself available, and we are the receptive vessels through which it flows. And oh, how grateful I am to know this. How grateful I am to have had this experience of feeling it here tonight. And how grateful I am for each and every one of you who has been receptive to these ideas. For I know that as each one of us becomes more open and receptive, our world is transformed. And oh, how glad I am about that. And so I simply release this word into that law, to that creative, loving intelligence that has no boundaries, that knows no limitations, that always says yes. I let it go and I let it be. And so it is. Amen.
Here at Center for Spirits Living Greater Las Vegas, we are a mission and vision-driven community. We offer transformative educational opportunities, deep and meaningful moments of connection, uplifting Wednesday and Sunday services. We greatly appreciate your contributions that support the amazing work we're doing here in Southern Nevada. We have several easy ways you can contribute. We have text to give. Simply text the amount of your donation to our text to give number and you'll be prompted to enter your information. There's a link to our online donation page posted below this video where you can contribute by debit or credit card. And of course, you're always welcome to send a check to our office if that works better for you. All of your contributions go to support the great work that we're doing here in Greater Las Vegas community.
Monthly publication, Signs Science of Mind magazine is a treasure to be read and contemplated. Along with in-depth articles, there is a day-to-day spiritual support to be gleaned from its daily guides. Licensed practitioner Lynn Frankenberger hosts Adventures in Faith on Zoom, and you're invited to join in. This is a weekly group discussion that focuses on those daily guides and how to apply them. Check Facebook and our weekly newsletter for more details.
Keeping it real, keeping it real. Keeping it real, keeping it real. Keeping it real with Reverend Laura. Keeping it real, keeping it real. Keeping it real, keeping it real. Keeping it real with Reverend Laura.
CSL Greater Las Vegas brings you much of your favorite spiritual music every Friday at 7 p.m. with spiritual soundscapes. Enjoy performances from CSLGLV vocalists along with special guest singers. It's music for your soul. Subscribe to the CSLGLV YouTube channel to get a convenient link sent to you for each musical performance. At CSL Greater Las Vegas, it is our mission to inspire spiritual discovery through community connection, exploration, and celebration. This mission supports the all-inclusive vision of Centers for Spiritual Living worldwide, in which we envision a world that works for everyone and all of creation.